The vast emptiness of space stretched before the USS Resilience, a sleek human exploration vessel that carried a crew of 30 dedicated professionals. Captain Hyun Park stood at the command center, his eyes fixed on the holographic displays that mapped their trajectory through an uncharted sector of the Orion Arm. Lieutenant Jae Kim, the ship's primary tactical officer, monitored the complex sensor arrays. His fingers danced across the control panel, tracking minute variations in radiation levels and gravitational disturbances. Something felt different about this particular region of space, a subtle tension that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. The first sign of trouble came as a faint energy signature. At first it was barely a whisper against the background radiation of space, but within moments the signature grew stronger, more defined. Kim's hands moved quickly, bringing the ship's defensive systems to partial alert. "Captain," he called out, his voice steady but urgent. "We've got an unidentified energy pattern approaching from Sector 7 Gamma." Hyun Park moved closer to the display, studying the rapidly expanding signal. It wasn't like anything in their standard database. Too precise to be a natural phenomenon, too complex to be random space debris. The USS Resilience was no military vessel. It was a research ship, equipped with advanced scientific instruments, and a crew trained in exploration, not combat. They were scientists, researchers, and diplomats, ill-prepared for what was about to emerge from the darkness of space. The first glimpse of the alien vessel came suddenly. It materialized like a nightmare made of sharp angles and impossible geometries. The Corax battlecruiser was massive, at least 5 times the size of the human ship, with a design that seemed to defy conventional understanding of spacecraft. Engineering initial communication attempts were met with silence. The alien ship made no attempt to respond to the standard greeting protocols. Instead, it began to move, a slow, deliberate approach that felt more like a predator sizing up its prey. Jae Kim's voice cut through the tension. "Defensive systems are online, but they're experimental. We've never tested them against a vessel of this magnitude." Captain Park knew their options were limited. The USS Resilience was not built for combat. Its primary mission was exploration, peaceful contact, and scientific discovery. Running was an option, but something in Park's gut told him that escape might be impossible. The ship's communications specialist, a young woman named Elena Rodriguez, worked frantically to establish any form of communication. Her fingers flew across multiple translation matrices, attempting to break through whatever communication barrier separated humans from this unknown threat. "They're scanning us," Kim reported, his voice tight with controlled panic. "Their energy signature is unlike anything in our database. It's something else entirely." The alien vessel began to pulse with an eerie light. Strange geometric patterns rippled across its hull, a language of technology that humans had never encountered before. It was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "Captain," Park made a decision. "Prepare a standard diplomatic communication package. We're not going to show fear." The next few moments would define humanity's first true encounter with an advanced alien civilization. The USS Resilience sat suspended in space, a small beacon of human hope against the vast, unknown darkness. No one on board knew what would happen next. Would this be first contact or first conflict? Would they be welcomed or destroyed? The universe held its breath, waiting. The alien ship continued its approach, silent and massive. Its intentions remained a complete mystery. Hyun Park gripped the command console, his eyes never leaving the approaching vessel. Whatever was about to happen would change everything, not just for the 30 souls on board the USS Resilience, but potentially for all of human civilization. In the cold silence of space, first contact was about to begin. The first attack came, without warning. A brilliant burst of energy erupted from the Corax vessel, striking the USS Resilience with a force that should have instantly destroyed the smaller human ship. But something unexpected happened. Instead of disintegrating, the human vessel absorbed the energy, its hull shimmering with an adaptive protective layer that the alien attackers had not anticipated. Lieutenant Jae Kim worked frantically, transforming the ship's systems in real time. The mining laser, originally designed for asteroid resource extraction, suddenly became a precision weapon. Communications arrays were reconfigured into electromagnetic pulse generators. Life support backup systems were rerouted to create unexpected power surges. Captain Hyun Park watched as the impossible unfolded. Their research vessel, designed for peaceful exploration, was becoming a weapon of remarkable complexity. The Corax commanders observed in growing confusion as their standard attack protocols failed completely. Elena Rodriguez, the communications specialist, discovered something even more remarkable. She began analyzing the alien communication frequencies, quickly identifying patterns in their attack sequences. Within minutes, she developed a predictive algorithm that could anticipate their next moves. The ship's computer systems, designed for scientific analysis, now became a tactical prediction engine. Each alien weapon strike was met with a counter-response that seemed almost supernatural in its precision. The Corax battlecruiser fired again, expecting total destruction. Instead, the USS Resilience not only survived but began to maneuver in ways that defied traditional space combat principles. Where military vessels would retreat, this research ship advanced. Where standard tactics suggested defense, this ship attacked. J. Kim's hands moved like lightning across the control panels. He was no longer just defending. He was actively disrupting the alien vessel's systems. Communication networks, navigation, protocols, energy distribution. Everything became a potential weapon in human hands. The alien commanders watched in growing horror. Their sophisticated battle computer struggled to process what was happening. This was not how combat was supposed to work. Enemies were meant to follow predictable patterns, to respond in ways that could be calculated and controlled. Humans, they were discovering, did not play by any known rules. Captain Park remained calm. Years of scientific training had taught him that adaptation was the key to survival. Every challenge was just another problem to be solved, every obstacle an opportunity for innovation. The ship's hull began to show signs of damage, but instead of weakening, it seemed to become more resilient. Micro-repair systems, originally designed for protecting sensitive scientific equipment, now worked to instantly patch and strengthen critical areas. Elena's communication algorithm started broadcasting specific frequency patterns that seemed to confuse and disorient the alien systems. It was psychological warfare at its most sophisticated. Using information and communication as a weapon, the Corax vessel fired again, but this time with less confidence. Their initial assessment of humans as a primitive, easily defeated species was rapidly falling apart. J. Kim's voice was steady. Hull integrity at 72%. Adaptive systems are compensating. We're not just surviving, we're learning. Those words captured the essence of human potential. Where other species saw a single battle, humans saw an opportunity to understand, to adapt, to evolve. The USS Resilience was no longer just a research vessel. It had become something else entirely. A demonstration of human potential, of the remarkable capacity to transform challenges into opportunities. As the battle continued, the alien commanders began to realize a terrifying truth. They were not just fighting a ship. They were facing a species that redefined the very concept of warfare. Survival was not just about strength. It was about creativity, adaptability, and the willingness to see beyond established limitations. The human ship continued to fight, each moment revealing another layer of unexpected capability. The universe was watching, and nothing would ever be the same again. The research facility hummed with an intense energy as Dr. Mina Choi examined the captured data from the recent space encounter. Her team of human researchers had been given an unprecedented opportunity to understand the psychological core of an alien species that had dramatically underestimated human capabilities. The Corax data streams revealed something fascinating. Their entire military structure was built on predictable emotional responses and rigid hierarchical systems. Humans, by contrast, operated on a completely different psychological framework. Where the Corax saw defeat as a permanent condition, humans saw it as a temporary state. Where alien soldiers broke under pressure, human military personnel seemed to become more innovative and determined. Dr. Choi's preliminary analysis showed that human soldiers possessed a unique ability to transform psychological stress into strategic advantage. Pain, fear, and uncertainty were not weaknesses. They were fuel for creative problem-solving. The research team discovered something remarkable about human neural pathways. Unlike other species they had studied, humans could rapidly reconfigure their mental processes under extreme conditions. What would paralyze another species became a catalyst for human adaptation. Military records showed countless examples. Soldiers who lost team members didn't retreat, they became more focused. Individuals confronted with impossible odds didn't surrender, they invented new strategies. The Corax psychological profiles had fundamental flaws. They understood strength as a fixed condition, something you either possessed or didn't. Humans saw strength as a dynamic, constantly evolving capacity. Captain Hyun Park's previous battle performance became a case study. Every decision he made seemed to challenge traditional military logic. Risking the ship wasn't recklessness. It was a calculated psychological strategy designed to create uncertainty in the enemy. Dr. Choi's team began developing comprehensive reports. They weren't just analyzing a single battle. They were revealing the fundamental psychological architecture that made humans unique in the galaxy. The human capacity for empathy, surprisingly, became a weapon. Where the Corax saw emotional connection as a weakness, humans transformed it into a powerful motivational tool. Soldiers fought not just for abstract concepts, but for real connections with their teammates. Survival instincts in humans were multi-layered. Physical survival was important, but so was preserving group identity, maintaining ethical standards, and protecting fundamental beliefs. This complex motivational structure made human soldiers uniquely resilient. The research revealed something even more profound. Humans didn't just fight wars, they told stories about those wars. Every conflict became a narrative of transformation, of overcoming impossible odds. This storytelling capacity itself was a form of psychological warfare. Corax military analysts, reviewing the data, began to feel something they had never experienced before: genuine fear. These humans weren't just another species to be conquered. They were a fundamental threat to everything the Corax understood about warfare and survival. Dr. Choi's final report was simple yet devastating. Humans were not just a species. They were a psychological phenomenon that defied traditional understanding. The way humans processed trauma, transformed challenges, and maintained hope under impossible conditions became a subject of intense, alien study. What other species saw as psychological vulnerability, humans saw as opportunity for growth. Every piece of data suggested the same conclusion. Humans were walking, breathing embodiments of psychological adaptability. Their minds were their most powerful weapon, flexible, resilient, and capable of transforming seemingly hopeless situations into moments of unexpected triumph. The research facility fell silent as the implications became clear. The universe had discovered something new, a species that didn't just survive challenges but was fundamentally defined by its ability to transcend them. The psychological warfare had already been won, not through weapons or technology, but through the remarkable human capacity to transform limitation into possibility. The Corax had made a critical mistake. They had viewed humans as just another species to be conquered. They were about to learn that humans were something entirely different, a force of psychological innovation that would reshape galactic understanding forever. The final strategic assault began with a silence that felt more terrifying than any weapon. Captain Hyun Park stood on the bridge of the USS Resilience, his eyes calculating every possible movement in the complex three-dimensional battle space. The Corax fleet surrounded them, massive ships with weapons that could destroy entire planetary systems. But something had changed. These alien commanders no longer saw humans as an easy target. Now, they saw them as an unpredictable nightmare. Lieutenant J. Kim's fingers moved across the control systems with a precision that seemed almost supernatural. Each movement was a calculated risk, each decision a potential game changer. The ship's computer systems were no longer just tools, they were extensions of human creativity. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. Park chose a strategy that defied all conventional warfare principles. Instead of defending, he attacked. Instead of protecting, he exposed. The USS Resilience began a series of maneuvers that looked like pure suicide to the Corax commanders. They deliberately allowed themselves to appear vulnerable. Communication systems were intentionally left partially exposed. Weapon signatures were broadcast with apparent carelessness. To any standard military analysis, the human ship looked like it was surrendering, but surrender was not in the human vocabulary. The Corax fleet moved in, confident of their imminent victory. Their massive battleships converged, weapons charging, ready to deliver the final blow. It was the moment of absolute triumph they had been waiting for. They never saw the trap coming. Every seemingly vulnerable system was a carefully constructed illusion. The exposed communication networks were actually sophisticated hacking platforms. The apparently weak weapon signatures were complex misdirection algorithms. In less than 17 minutes, the entire Corax fleet communication network collapsed. Navigation systems went dark. Weapon synchronization failed. Massive battleships suddenly became isolated, unable to coordinate or communicate. They had walked directly into a psychological and technological ambush designed with human ingenuity. Lieutenant Kim's algorithms worked faster than any alien computer could process. They didn't just disable systems, they transformed them. Each alien technological network became a potential weapon against its creators. The human ship moved like a ghost, striking with precision that seemed to defy the laws of spatial combat. Where other species saw limitations, humans saw opportunities. Every weakness became a potential strength. Captain Park's voice remained calm. Target their primary communication hub. Disable. Do not destroy. The difference was crucial. Humans weren't interested in complete annihilation. They wanted to understand, to learn, to demonstrate their superior strategic thinking. The Corax commanders watched in growing horror as their entire military infrastructure collapsed, not through brute force, but through an intelligence that rewrote the fundamental understanding of warfare. Massive battleships, each capable of destroying planets, became nothing more than floating metal shells. Their crews looked on in confusion as human strategies dismantled everything they understood about combat. What made this domination so profound was its completeness. It wasn't just a military victory, it was a comprehensive demonstration of human potential. Every system, every strategy was revealed as fundamentally limited compared to human creativity. The final communication from Captain Park was simple and direct. We did not seek this conflict, but we will always finish it. Those words would echo through alien communication networks for generations. They weren't a threat. They were a statement of fundamental human resolve. As the battle concluded, something remarkable happened. The Corax weren't just defeated. They were fundamentally transformed in their understanding of what intelligent life could be. Humans had done more than win a battle. They had redefined the entire concept of strategic engagement. The universe watched, and nothing would ever be the same again. The diplomatic chamber was silent when the Corax delegation arrived. They had traveled across multiple star systems, carrying with them a message that would change galactic politics forever. Captain Hyun Park stood at the center of the human representation team, his posture calm and measured. Behind him were representatives from Earth's most advanced scientific and military institutions. They weren't here to celebrate a victory. They were here to establish a new understanding. The lead Corax ambassador, a tall creature with metallic skin and complex eye structures, approached the human delegation. His movements were careful, almost tentative, a significant change from the aggressive posture of their previous encounters. Humans, the ambassador began, his translation device rendering his words in clear, precise English, we come to understand. Those simple words carried more weight than any formal declaration. The entire galaxy was watching this moment, the first true diplomatic interaction between humans and the Corax civilization. Dr. Mina Choi, who had extensively studied the psychological profiles of the alien species, stood nearby. Her research had been instrumental in preparing for this moment. She understood that this wasn't just a diplomatic meeting. It was a fundamental reassessment of human potential. The Corax had discovered something profound during their conflict. Humans were not just another species to be conquered or categorized. They were a dynamic, unpredictable force of innovation and adaptation. Lieutenant J. Kim presented the initial diplomatic documentation. Each page was a carefully constructed narrative that demonstrated human intentions. Not dominance, but mutual understanding and potential collaboration. The alien representatives reviewed the documents with a mixture of caution and genuine curiosity. They had learned that human communication was never straightforward. Every word, every sentence contained layers of meaning. "We recognize your capabilities," the Corax ambassador stated. The statement was both the admission of defeat and a profound respect. Captain Park's response was measured. "We seek understanding, not conflict. Our technology, our strategies, they are tools for exploration and mutual growth." The diplomatic chamber seemed to hold its breath. This was more than a meeting between two species. It was a potential turning point in galactic civilization. The Corax delegation began discussing potential collaborative research projects. They were particularly interested in human psychological adaptation mechanisms, innovative technological approaches, and strategic thinking models. What made this moment extraordinary was its lack of traditional power dynamics. The humans didn't gloat. The Corax didn't grovel. Instead, there was a mutual recognition of each species' unique capabilities. Dr. Choi's psychological research had prepared them for this moment. Humans understood that true strength wasn't about military might, but about the capacity to understand, adapt, and grow. As discussions continued, it became clear that the conflict had transformed both species. The Corax were learning flexibility. The humans were expanding their understanding of interstellar diplomacy. The final agreement wasn't just a treaty. It was a blueprint for potential galactic cooperation. Joint research stations, technology exchange programs, and collaborative exploration missions were proposed. Captain Park's final statement captured the essence of the moment. "We did not seek this conflict, but we emerged understanding that our differences can be our greatest strength." The Corax ambassador's response was equally profound. "Humans are not just a species. You are a phenomenon." As the diplomatic meeting concluded, something fundamental had changed. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. They were no longer just another emerging civilization. They were a force of nature, unpredictable, innovative, and fundamentally transformative. The universe had discovered something remarkable, and this was just the beginning.